Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, in the opening, each time you start up the opening, the two characters that appear in the very beginning are actually different each time you start up the game. It'll be two random characters picked, and they each even have their own unique animation for when they actually first come to life and get up. It's pretty cool to see the 8 different default characters, to see all their different animations for that. I believe none of the unlockable characters are able to show up in the beginning of that. So pretty interesting. Everything else about the opening, though, is the exact same. Oh, no, yeah, right there, you're able to see the characters that you have, the unlockable characters that you have unlocked, along with the ones you haven't unlocked being a silhouette. So, I guess we'll continue the one-player mode, as this time we'll be playing as Samus. We'll go back to the usual 5 stock, and let's begin. So yeah, on this whole screen in the one-player mode showing the round, each character has their own unique pose that you'll see on the left for whoever you're playing as. So pretty cool that they have that as well. I don't know. Just something to talk about. Although we could talk about how Samus is in this game. So Samus Aran, or Samus Aran, I don't really know how you pronounce it. I'm sure there's a correct way. But, yeah, Samus has quite a few projectile attacks in her arsenal. Alright. And actually, what's really funny is that this game was technically Samus's first ever 3D appearance in anything, as there was not a Metroid game on the Nintendo 64. So, yeah, pretty interesting that, you know, before Metroid Prime on the GameCube and stuff like that, Samus's first 3D appearance was in this game. Pretty interesting. It's especially weird for such a big character as Samus, as you know, I believe at this time there were 3 Metroid games. One on the NES, the original. There was a sequel, Metroid 2, Return of Samus, on Game Boy, and Super Metroid for the Super Nintendo. But yeah, there wasn't one on the Nintendo 64. It's funny because it's even funnier because after this game's release, Samus's next 3D appearance would be in another Smash Brothers game, Super Smash Brothers Melee on GameCube, which only came out 2 years after this game. So, yeah, there wasn't much of a gap between these 2 games' releases. There we go. Alright, now we get to see 2 of the more sci-fi oriented characters from Nintendo duke it out. So Samus's neutral special is where she pretty much charges up this laser ball. And you just press B again in order to release it, unless you're able to fully charge it, which takes a little while. And also, yeah, whenever Samus dodges, she actually rolls up into a ball, kind of like as seen in the video game, in the Metroid games. And so, yeah, that's what happens whenever it's fully charged. Her down special is dropping a bomb. by the way, with the neutral special, you actually cannot charge it in mid-air. It actually took them until Super Smash Bros. Ultimate for the Nintendo Switch in order for them to actually have Samus be able to charge her neutral special in mid-air. Interesting that it took them that long, but okay. Also, similar to Link, Samus actually has a long-range grab. So, pretty cool. Oh, by the way, here's one of the items, the hammer, seen in the Donkey Kong arcade game. Any hit from it will pretty much send your opponent flying in the air. So, it's a pretty quick way to get some KOs. I mean, it must be a pretty powerful hammer if it could destroy barrels in an instant. Anyways, here's Samus's Break the Target stage. I'm going to be wanting to use her projectile attacks a lot in this one. Although, it may not seem like it at first, but especially with these, you're going to want to use her bombs. Or, well, I tried. Maybe you don't, I don't know. Anyways, moving on. That's kind of embarrassing. Anyways, let's just fight the Mario Brothers. Ooh, we even get Ness alongside us. So we get to see him in action more, even after we just unlocked him. Anyways, Samus's up special is pretty much a, yeah, it's a roll attack. That's right, this time it's not a spin attack. Well, it technically isn't, it's a roll attack. Which is close, but not the same. Sorry to any spin attack fans out there. I guess technically, I believe this power-up in the Metroid games is called the screw attack. So it's almost a spin attack, but it isn't. And that's the thing, in the Metroid games, Samus got all of her powers via power-ups that you would collect across the game. So it's interesting that within this, it's kind of seeing her having all these power-ups in this game. Anyways, Pikachu just died immediately. That's really cool. Anyways, ooh, we get 2 unlockable characters right alongside us for fighting the giant Donkey Kong. Also, yeah, we got to see Captain Falcon's entrance animation there, where he's actually exiting his race car, the Blue Falcon. Pretty cool. Okay, just completely dodged that. How's this? That worked. Now, I think this game might have been... Yes, it was. It was my first exposure to the character Samus. And of course, like, literally... Oh! By the way, here's Samus's Board the Platform stage. Which, yeah, you may notice the terrain, the ground texture, has changed once again to be a more metallic one. I believe there's a couple other characters that have the exact same terrain as seen here. And yes, I believe Fox McCloud is one of the other ones that does. Now, how are we going to get up there? More specifically, how are we going to get down there? Oh. Alright, we're going to have to time this, aren't we? Or just fall. Well, I'm so good at this. That one's going to have to take some practice later. Thankfully, we can specifically go back to certain break the target stages and platform stages in order to complete them. Because you're going to need to complete them in order to get some other unlockables in this game. Anyways, I was trying to say earlier that I believe this game was my first exposure to Samus. And like most other people, I did not know that she was a female at first, and always referred to her as a he. So, yeah. Of course, there's always the discovery of literally every person that's ever played these games of Samus is a girl? And I don't remember exactly when I had the discovery. Probably scouring through the internet, knowing me. Probably took me that long. Either that, or maybe even when playing Smash Brothers Brawl, because in that game, you're able to play as Samus without her suit. With the character Zero Suit Samus. Alright. Good to know that these Kirby team fighters have friendly fire. They are able to attack each other, which is really useful in my case. Here we go. Because we're already playing as Samus, we have to fight an alternately colored Samus. This time she has pink armor and a blue visor. Gotta use her own attacks on herself. Oh. Come on. Dang it. I don't know, I kind of like playing as Samus in this game. She has good, both short-range and long-range attacks. So, yeah, get the best of... Yep. Wow. I completely forgot that motion sensor bomb was there. Nope. And the acid cleared the stage for us once again. Star finish. And acid clear. Alright, time to fight Metal Mario once again. One, go! Anyways, there goes Metal Mario. Uh-oh, here we go. Another thing about Samus being a pretty good character, she's also a pretty fast character. I mean, look at this. It makes sense that she's fast because a whole bunch of Metroid's gameplay involves backtracking. Pretty much after going through a stage, pretty much going through a stage and doing a task, you'll have to go back to where you started. It's a pretty interesting gimmick. Well, I wouldn't want to call it a gimmick, which is kind of a mechanic of those games. Now we gotta fight the Fighting Polygon team. I could talk about what I was going to talk about with how Zero Suit Samus is playable in Super Smash Bros. Brawl. Pretty much Samus without her power suit. In Smash Bros. Brawl, you pretty much access the character by unveiling Samus's what's called Final Smash in that game, which is pretty much kind of a super powerful move for a character that you can only get by collecting what's called the Smash Ball, which is an item that could that can occasionally spawn onto the stage. Now, those special moves, the Final Smashes, were actually going to be in this game. So yeah, one thing to know, Final Smashes were going to be in Super Smash Bros. For Nintendo 64. But the reason for their exclusion, probably either time constraints or hardware limitations, if I were to guess. Especially because for some of the characters you can actually find in this game, you can find unused sound files of them performing what would presumably be their final smashes with, oh no, please don't tell me. And I'm out. Anyways, I believe Ness and Captain Falcon in this game have unused sound clips of what would presumably be their final smash attacks, with Ness shouting PK Starstorm, which would be what his final smash would be in Super Smash Bros. Brawl, and Captain Falcon saying come on, which, oh my god, which is what he says whenever unleashing his final smash in Smash Bros. Brawl, which is where he gets in his Blue Falcon racer and run over his opponents. Uh-oh. And the crowd is cheering for me once again. That's nice. Also, I may as well, speaking of F-Zero, I may as well get this fact out of the way. You probably can't notice from watching this video, but if you've actually played this game, you may know that this is one of the very few Nintendo 64 games to run at a 60 frames per second frame rate. I mean, you can kind of tell, because this game definitely has more simplistic graphics. Dang, I'm only at 2 lives. Compared to other Nintendo 64 games. But, yeah, it seems like because of how the hardware is structured for Nintendo 64, it's really hard for games to have a smooth frame rate. And this managed to be one of the few games to actually run at the smooth frame rate. I believe other significant games that run at the frame rate of 60 frames per second are F-Zero X, that's one of them. I believe Yoshi's Story is another one, although to be fair, that one is a entirely 2D game, so it makes sense that it wouldn't be too hardware intensive, not having any 3D elements. Anyways, here's Master Hand. But yeah, I believe what other Nintendo 64 games run at 60 FPS? I believe another 3D fighting game, Tom and Jerry War of the Whiskers for Nintendo 64. I believe it was a console exclusive for Nintendo 64, because its only other release, I believe, was on PC, and it was another one that ran at 60 frames per second. Although that one's kind of debatable if it's like considered a significant N64 game. Although there was only 400, not even 400 games on the Nintendo 64. So some could argue that all the games were significant because there were so few games released on the system that each game kind of mattered. But anyways, that takes care of Master Hand. And Samus's one-player game. Alright. And there we go. Managed to press start soon enough to where I could speed through the credits. Because we've seen it plenty of times before. Anyways, here is Samus's congratulations screen. Thank you for playing. As we get to see Samus's helmet with a reflection of what appears to be Samus without her helmet. With her flowing blonde hair. Pretty cool. Anyways, we did not unlock a character this time, but rather we're just sent straight back to the opening. Which we can skip. Oh, by the way, we could have seen Fox's coming to life animation, but oh well.